Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to the Digitally Uploaded Podcast, the companion podcast at digitallydownloaded.net. My name is Alan. I'm going to be your host for this week. With me, we have Matt, the editor-in-chief. Hello, Matt.
Hello, and Happy New Year.
Hey, it's New Year's. Yeah, Happy New Year's, everyone. I probably should have mentioned that in the introduction. That
You probably
would have been
should have.
something that would have made sense. All right, well, let's go back then. Happy New Year, everyone. And we have Matt this week. Hello, Matt. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, Alan.
We also have Trent. Hello, Trent.
Hello. Happy New Year. Yeah.
Harvard, save me. Harvard, save me.
Hello, good morning, everyone. That's all of us this week, so we can jump right into the podcast, right? And save Alan from this, whatever he's got himself into.
Look, I don't even know half the time. We do have a little bit of things to talk about this week. I think it's one of those months coming up in January where there's not usually a lot that's going on, so we're going to be a bit more free form, I believe, which will be exciting. We'll see how we go. Anyway, we've got some Miku to start us off.
Alan's lost it. Alan's
Okay.
on the New Year's cheer.
I've lost it for years at this point. I haven't had it for 24 years. We are going to start with some Miku, so we'll be going right into that, and then moving into the games coming out in January. Matt, what's the song?
Let's go with Romeo and Cinderella. That's a good classic one.
私の恋を奇跡の日々とめしないでここから連れ出してそんな気分よ パパとママにおやすみなさいせきせき夢を見なさい大人はもう寝る時間よ
And welcome back. So we do have games coming out next month. It's hard to believe, but there are actually games coming out next month. So we have a list of them. Matt, would you like to begin the enunciation of said list?
We do. There are indeed games coming out in January, which is always good. It means you have stuff to play if you've somehow managed to finish everything that's currently on your backlog. But yeah, there's a few games. There's not as much of, obviously, because it is the start of a new year and January is the quieter part of the year, but there are some interesting bits and pieces. We'll start with the PlayStation 4. The first game on PlayStation 4 that comes out in January is Iris.Fall. I have no idea what that is. I don't think it's going to be anything particularly interesting, but it comes out on January 8. And there you go. That's the first game on PS4 that you'll be able to play in this year. But fast forward to January 14, I know there will be some people that play this. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the game complete edition comes out on January 14. Then on January 20, you've got Hitman 3, which is cool.
Oh, that's coming out.
Hitman's pretty cool. People like Hitman.
That's much earlier than I thought it would be.
There you go. You can play it in January. Then
PS5 game as well, I believe.
Then we've got a game called Cyber Shadow coming out on January 26. Have no idea what that is, but it has the word cyber in it, which means it's going to be better than Cyberpunk just by default.
Because it probably works on release.
Then we've got, actually, here's a big one for everyone but Alan, but Atelier Ryza 2 comes out on January 26, and I've been really looking forward to that. I do love the Atelier series a great deal. Really enjoyed the first Atelier Ryza, so really looking forward to Atelier Ryza 2, especially since that is also coming out on PlayStation 5, and it actually looks very pretty. The graphics and work that they've done on that as the first Koei Tecmo PlayStation 5 game. So there's that. On January 28, you've got Sword of the Necromancer, which has a pretty little box art here, so that might be good. Also on January 28, you've got Citizens Unite, Earth times Space, which is... Oh, that's just a double pack of the Citizens of Earth and Citizens of Space games, which were pretty fun little comedic JRPGs that were released on PlayStation Vita, I think, ages and ages ago. So there you go. On January 28 also, there's a game called Olija coming out, which is a one-man band kind of show. It's been published by Devolver Digital. It is very pretty and definitely worth looking into on that one. And then finally, on January 29, Re:0/Starting Life in Another World, the Prophecy of the Throne comes out, which is one of those anime-named games. But
yeah, I was gonna say that's like one that I would make a joke about existing, just with colons and semicolons as well.
yeah,
Zero is a well-known anime, though, isn't it?
yes, it is, and it is a Spike Chunsoft published thing. So I think it's like a visual novel cross RPG. So I'm
That's all
pretty
I should.
sure. I'm pretty sure I'll enjoy that. I like what Spike Chunsoft has done over the last couple of years. And this is their first one of the year. So that comes out on January 29. That's it for PlayStation 4. Moving on to PlayStation 5. If there's anything that I haven't already mentioned, just less of it because it is a PlayStation 5 and nothing gets released on it at the moment.
Games.
You have got Hitman coming on PS5. You've got Atelier Ryza 2, which I mentioned, coming out on PlayStation 5. And there's some game called Ride 4 coming out on PlayStation 5. So if you like
that's
your bike
the
racing,
driving game.
yeah. If you like your bike vroom rooms, there you go. Also,
Bike rooms.
your bike vroom rooms. Oh, there's actually 2 bike vroom room games coming out because MXGP 2020 also comes out on PlayStation 5 in January.
Are those games any good?
No.
Okay.
Uh.
Just answering my question.
They're either, I don't know, for me, I can't get my head around bike racing games. Either they're too arcadey and just not that interesting over the long term, or they try to be simulations, and when I try and bike race in a simulation game, my guy just keeps falling off his bike, which is pretty boring. So yeah, I haven't had a good experience with bike racing games in the past. I'll stick to F1, I think.
played Tourist Trophy a lot as a child because Tourist Trophy was made by the Gran Turismo team, and they can do no wrong in my brain. I want to make a new one of those. That'd be fun.
Well, unfortunately, there's no Tourist Tourist Trove or whatever you just said it was on
Tourist Trophy.
coming out in
It better come
January.
out.
It's not
PS2 Classic,
happening.
baby.
It's
Knack
not
2
happening.
coming to PS5.
Sorry to burst your bubble there, Alan. It's just not happening.
Dang.
No.
All right, let's move over to the Switch because the Switch has the bulk of the stuff coming out, as happens to be the case every single month. And in January, there is a lot coming. So I did mention RS4. That's coming out on PS4. That's also coming out on Switch on January 7. Also on January 7, there is a game called Sense, a cyberpunk ghost story, which is horror.
Hack the ghost frame.
Yeah, it's inspired by Clock Tower and Fatal Frame, and
Ooh.
mixing
Alright.
cyberpunk with traditional Cantonese folklore. So I have been playing it. I can say that, I think, because I did get a review code for it. I can't actually say anything about it until January 7 because, embargoes and stuff. But, yeah.
Is it a game, Matt?
It is a game, and I don't think they'll be too mad at me saying it's not as buggy as the Cyberpunk 2077.
So you mean it launches and doesn't make you have a seizure?
It works. That's the thing.
That's incredible. Like, that's actually... In a world where a cyberpunk game doesn't make you physically ill.
That's exactly it.
And-
Moving on. On January 7, also on Switch, a game called Stardash comes out. And I don't know too much about this other than it's a kind of Game Boy styled thing. So it's, the kind of grey scale,
like the
black and white
the, like,
platformers.
4-bit. It looks like it's 4-bit. Yeah.
I like those. I actually really like the Game Boy aesthetic. So anything that actually uses that is thumbs up for me. So I'm kind of looking forward to that, even though I'm not a big fan of platformers as a rule. Also on January 7, there is a RPG adventure game coming out called Werewolf the Apocalypse, Heart of the Forest, that is set in the Werewolf the Apocalypse pen and paper RPG world, which is an offshoot to the Vampire the Masquerade. So if you're into your dark RPGs, then that'll be one worth looking into, I think. There's actually not that many games. There's an awful lot of games that are made that are based on Vampire the Masquerade, but not that many that are done on Werewolf. So hopefully that one turns out to be pretty good. Moving on. We've also got Scott Pilgrim's coming out on the Switch as well. Well, that'll be the platform to play that, I think. That'll be pretty cool on the go.
Yeah, it's a brawler. It's going to be perfect for Switch.
Yeah, that's
Plus,
what I
the fact
think.
that the controller for Switch would be better for that than anything else as well, because of the whole, like, you just take it off and have instant co-op. Because brawlers, as it turns out, are not very fun when they're single player.
I was going to say, I'd hope you'd be able to play, on just the one Joy-Con each, because then you'd be able to play multiplayer anyway, which is pretty neat. That'd be the way to go with Scott Pilgrim.
Absolutely.
Don't need to spend $150 on a PlayStation 5 controller to play it with a friend. Moving on. Controllers are too expensive, everybody. That was the point I was making there. There's
Really,
also...
Matt? You don't like spending 70 quid on a pair of Joy-Cons that break within a month?
Yeah.
You don't like that? I love that, personally.
Yeah, but the problem is Joy-Cons are $120 each if you want new Joy-Cons, so they are pretty more expensive.
I spent more money on Joy-Cons and games this last year. Moving on.
Sounds about right.
There's a game called Rhythm Fighter coming out on January 14 on Switch. I don't know anything about it, but the idea of putting rhythm into anything is cool with me. So, I'll give that a whirl. I like rhythm games. Maybe it's a rhythm fighting game. That's why it's called Rhythm Fighter. That'd be pretty cool.
No, it's actually a puzzle game. It's actually like...
It has no rhythm at all. There's no music at all.
It's Super Puzzle Fighter 2, but with music notes instead of gems.
Here's a game just for Alan. Fantasy Tavern Sextet, Volume 2, Adventurer's Days. Because I know you played the first one.
Yeah, how'd you know? I'm known for my love of fantasy column sextet.
Fantasy Tavern. Tavern, not column. Tavern.
Fantasy tavern. Do you run a tavern?
No, I think it's like, I've actually downloaded the first one. I haven't played it. But I think it's like one of those magic things where you're just a normal dude and then you go to sleep or something and wake up in this fantasy world, and
Oh, so it's an isekai.
all the anime girls are all very undressed and stuff. It's all very fan servicey.
It sounds.
Here's the
absolutely
description.
like
Here's the description for you,
yeah,
Alan.
please read it. I'd love to know more.
You'll laugh and cry at this slightly naughty love harem romantic
I hate
comedy
it
adventure.
I hate anything that uses the word naughty is bad. If you use
They
that
actually-
word, you know what you're doing.
The second chapter of the harem love comedy in a fantasy world is available now. One day, several days after your protagonist, the young cook, is back in Akihabara, got transported to another world. Oh, there you go. Yeah, you'd love this game, Alan. It's all about that.
It's
Oh, so he's a
basically Nino
chef.
too.
He's a chef. He works at the tavern with all the undressed anime girls.
What the? No, this is stupid.
Well,
No,
that's
as
how
soon
you
as
get to them.
As soon as you said naughty, I was instantly off put, and then you went into detail about it more, and it just sounds like. Look, to each their own. However,
It's
I'm
going to be your
right.
favorite game of the year, Alan. It's going to be your
You
favorite
know.
game of the year.
Probably not.
Keep
keep reading the games before I lose my mind.
reading the okay, fine. There's a game. There's a game called Adverse coming out on January 22 on Switch. It's an arcade first-person shooter set in an idyllic world of corruption. I don't know how a world of corruption could be idyllic, but there you go.
Have you heard about late-stage capitalism, Matt?
But yeah, I don't know. As far as first-person shooters go, I actually like them retro style. So maybe I like Adverse. Maybe. Who knows? Maybe not. What else we got? There's something called The Unexpected Quest coming out on January 23.
Was it unexpected?
I don't know. You collect. It's an adventure game with strategy and management elements in a medieval fantasy setting. So that's saying a lot of things that I like, but it could just be a word salad. Moving on. We've got Atelier Rosa 2 is coming out on Switch as well. If you've got a PlayStation 5, you probably want to play it on that because it's all pretty and stuff. But if you've got a Switch, there you go. You can play it on the go. Then we've got a game. Oh, this is one that I've actually been looking forward to. I've seen the screenshots and whatever, and it seems to be my kind of thing. It's called Heaven's Vault. It comes out on January 28. And yeah, you play as an archaeologist exploring a strange region of space called the Nebula with your robot sidekick, hoping to uncover the secrets of a long-forgotten past. But if you look at the screenshots and stuff, it actually looks pretty interesting. So keep an eye out for Heaven's Vault. I'll probably be playing it. What else do we got? There's an awful lot of games coming out on Switch, you see. ReZero comes out on Switch as well
I
on
was going to
January
say,
29.
this is a big list for January of all
Yeah.
months.
There is one other one that could be interesting, I think. Probably not for Alan again, but March and Forest.
No, don't even say that. It might be my favorite game.
Yeah, of course. March and Forest, Maln and the Forest Gift. That's a kind of RPG thing where you need to go around collecting ingredients to create potions. So think,
Okay, no, it might not be my thing.
well, there's fishing, trivia, training, and even dungeon exploration, and fun mini games. I didn't say. I didn't just assume fun. It's actually there in the description, so it must be fun.
It is not reassuring when a game says that it's fun. It's like,
Yeah.
no, honest guys, we aren't painful to play. We're actually fun.
But in all seriousness, March and Forest actually looks pretty decent. If you have a look at the, if you go and look at the screenshots and stuff, it actually looks pretty interesting, and it has a very good review, a very good reputation on Steam, I think, because while there aren't too many reviews of it, there's only 314. I've just pulled it up here. They're all overwhelmingly positive, so there you go. It's quite a pretty game. All right, so that's it. That's all the stuff coming out in January. I know Alan's favorite, well, the one that Alan's looking forward to the most is
It's the one
Fantasy
that I don't
Tavern.
remember the name of. Yeah.
Yeah,
Fantasy
that's
Column, Starland, 69 Palaces.
It's a game where you only make yogurt.
so that's Alan's.
Don't read into that.
Whole thing, just skipping past me.
I don't need to ask you. I know which one you're looking forward to. Harvard, what are you looking forward to the most?
wow, it's such a year. It's such a month of content.
Oh, hang on. Sorry. Just before you say that, I did just notice it's just popped up on my little list on Metacritic here. On January 16 on PC, we don't often cover January 18 on PC. We don't often cover PC here, but this one is definitely going to be a must-play. I think Hentai Animation Puzzle comes out on PC.
God.
So there you go.
At least it says what it is, like it says what it is on the tin, and I respect that. It's not trying to like hide it behind like Obscura Magica Lupin.
That being said, Fantasy Tavern Sextet also has it on the name itself.
Yeah, but like it's too long. Just call it like the titty game. Just call it titty game, titty magic game. Just that's what it needs to be called. And then every other titty games can just be called titty game 1, titty game 2, titty game 3. Like you can label like that, and then I can just
we beat up to like number 2085 right now.
Yeah, How much do you bet that they actually created 6 characters just so they could call the game Sextet?
Well, look, I don't want to bet anything because I know it to be true. Like, it's not worth betting. It's like, oh, how much do you want to bet that there's air in the atmosphere?
I feel like the puns came first, and then all the game design came afterwards.
I don't think
it's a visual novel. I don't think there's much design in there. It's just like a bunch of contrivances to make fan service.
Harvard, how dare you say that? As
Harvard,
somebody that
really long and hard about the size of the lady's breasts.
As somebody who has created many visual novels myself, there's a good plug there. I can tell you there's a lot of game design that goes into visual novels. Excuse me, I find your comment criticizing visual novels for not being enough game design to be very unfair.
Can you criticize Sextet game though? Can you call it a ding dong game?
No, it's going to be a masterpiece.
Okay. Harvard, what's your game?
I'm going to give it 10 out of 10, Helen. You know I'm going to. I'm going to find some way to do it.
Yeah, and then you'll tag me in it on Twitter, and then I'll have to delete Twitter. Harvard, what's your game?
Game of January. I'm going to go with the Citizens Unite game, because I did give Citizens of Earth a try before, and it's very complicated. You have like 50 different characters, each with their own skills, and you need to make your own team that you prefer. But it was pretty grindy, so if there's not much to be playing in January, it might be fun to do that. It's like not an offshoot, it's inspired by Earthbound, in that it's funny, and that you can walk into enemies in the overworld, and if you're too strong, they just go away. So that's like the one mechanic I like in JRPGs.
Yeah, I mean, I quite enjoyed the original Citizens. I didn't play Citizens of Space, but I did play Citizens of Earth, and I thought it was quite good. I did quite genuinely enjoy it. So,
the satire is not going to land at all, though. I just realized, because I'm pretty sure it's a pre-Trump game.
It is a pre-Trump game, and it's all about lightly making fun about corrupt politicians, which is, it'll be interesting to play it again now. And
I need to stop the podcast for a moment. I'm upset. No, okay. So I'm gonna link. No, I'm not allowing this travesty to happen. I'm derailing this shit. Okay, I'm gonna link when this podcast is uploaded. There's gonna be a tweet that's gonna be attached to this that my good friend Mr. Matthew Sainsbury has posted on Twitter, tagging me with what I assume is the Sextet art.
It is. I found some great art from the Sextet game, which I've just tagged Alan into it in a tweet.
At least it's not like actually porn.
It's close.
It's closer than you think.
It's close.
Does she have a tail?
It's closer than you think, but further than you'd hope for the Sextet game. Just like, anyway, look, I'm gonna go silent now.
Now that I know you're interested in the game, Alan, I'll send you lots of screenshots over the next couple of weeks, okay?
Great, it's always what I want.
But yes, back to Citizens of Earth. It's a good game, I think. But yeah, you're right. It'll be interesting to replay it under the whole post-Trump era to see whether that has changed the context and texture of the humor or not. I think it might have. Maybe. Moving on, Trent. What game are you looking forward to this month? For every person that says the Sextet game, I'm going to send Alan another screenshot. So
Oh, well, in that case, a sextet game. That's, obviously
I
one I'm
cannot
looking
explain
for.
how much I dislike every single person in this.
But in all seriousness, I'm kind of a little bit disappointed that there's no, I don't know, mainstream small games again this January. Like the games which I was playing back last January, like I played A Short Hike and, the Frog Detective games and all those sort of things. Like they were my jam in January. But there doesn't seem to be anything around this time this year in that sort of mainstream field for small games.
Yeah,
And I
you
wish
want
there was.
you want Olager, Trent. I'm
I
not.
want Olager?
This is not humor. This is not being stupid. You definitely want Olager.
Okay, I'll get
like
that
I
one.
said, that is a Devolver Digital published one-man band indie game, and it is quite gorgeous. If you go and look up the screenshots and whatever, it's really beautiful. This guy, I actually interviewed him last year, and he's based in Japan, so it's he kind of used his experience of being, I guess, a foreigner living in Japan as the backdrop for the kind of the adventure that he's created with this one, and it's really it's kind of this swashbuckling kind of 2D platformer adventure game thing that I think it'll do pretty well. Devolver is pretty good at finding these kinds of super creative little artsy games, and I think this one is going to turn heads.
Devolver in general has a pretty good track record of finding some pretty interesting and unique concepts that would probably not be picked up otherwise. So it's always nice to see them like with something completely brand new that has no ties to anything else. So yeah, it'll probably be good.
Yeah,
I believe
definitely check that one out. So there you go, Trent. That can be your January project there.
All right.
I told you which game you're looking forward to. So
Matt, what's your game?
What?
What's your game that you're looking forward to?
Oh, come on. You're really asking me what my game choice is?
It's the Atelier one.
Oh, yeah, hang on. That game's coming out. Hey.
You got too distracted by the sextet.
I got too distracted by the sextet.
No, I actually wanted a genuine response, not just let's shitpost Alan.
Yeah, definitely Atelier. I mean, like I say, I'm pretty sure I've given every Atelier game 5 out of 5 stars ever since I've started reviewing them, because I just love the series that much. They're kind of the wholesome, feel-good, light-hearted JRPG adventure things. And this would be 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Maybe this is my 14th Atelier game. Gosh, they churned them out. And yeah, I really enjoyed the original Atelier Ryza. So I'm just hoping this one backs up on that. This is the first time they've done a direct sequel to any Atelier character's journey. Like every time they have a different lead character, this is the first time they've done a direct sequel. So it'll be interesting to see what that does to the game. But I'm interested to see. I'll be playing it on PlayStation 5, because that's the other thing. It's an actual JRPG on PlayStation 5. That's I mean, unless you count, technically Demon's Souls counts as a JRPG on PlayStation 5. But
as an action RPG.
Yeah, but this will be the first kind of proper JRPG on the console. And I'm looking forward to that for that reason as well.
There you go. And with that, we're actually going to be playing some music from Atelier.
No, you haven't told us what one you're looking forward to, Alan.
No, I don't have one to look forward to. I don't need to.
You don't have one. Not even Hitman.
Not even Man Hit.
Not even Man Hit.
I might play
Hitman
Man Hit.
could be okay.
I might play Slapman.
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 You're playing the Traben game. Oh, good. We can
I'm
move
just going to
on.
run around slapping people with fish, because that's what you can do in that game. That game looks pretty good. I might play it. I don't know. I didn't play enough of Hitman 2 or 1, in all honesty, to really go in on it, because now that you have games that are like, 70 quid or 120 Australian, like it's it's a bit of a dive to buy something new.
Speaking of, I don't think we ever mentioned this on the podcast last year, but you all saw the news that they're creating a James Bond game, right? They're the ones that got the license for Bond.
And I mean that's good.
That's good, because I could just see Hitman working as an almost direct crossover.
They just replace Agent 47 with James Bond, yeah.
Yeah,
So
and that'll be the best Bond game in a long time.
Everyone should play the Hitman 3 game and get into the vibe for it, and then start the hype train for James Bond. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, who knows when it's actually going to come out because they only teased it, and that could be like 3 years.
It'll be
away.
like yeah, it's not going to come out for a while. Yeah, that'll be fine. All right, I'll say Hitman 3, whatever. Anyway, yeah, Atelier Ryza music. Let's go. Welcome back from that. So we are now officially a month and a bit into the new console generation. And as with everything, we are now going to sort of discuss what sort of games define the last generation and what we sort of might expect to see a little bit from this current one as well. It's been, what, 6 years? 6-year-long generation? Because the consoles came out late 2013? Yeah?
That sounds about right. Yes, it's a long
Yeah.
time.
It is a long
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, well, it was so shocking to me to think that the PS4 is literally 6-7 years old at this point. It's wild. I mean, there's been like a bunch of really annoying trends.
I mean, if you want to go even further back, the Wii U was released on 2012.
No, the Wii U doesn't exist. I don't know what you're talking about.
The Wii U
So
doesn't
maybe-
exist yet. Nintendo doesn't. It's like the sun that they keep in the closet.
Yeah, it's Harry Potter, except with less turfs. So, yeah, no, it's wild to me because we've seen the rise and fall of some pretty big genres. Like we were told for a while that single player games were dead. That was pretty fun. Remember that time period where they
I
said
think
you couldn't release single player games anymore?
I'm pretty sure that was just
Yeah, I do
EA
remember this.
said that.
Yeah.
That was just an EA thing because they wanted everyone to buy Anthem, which was
No
never
one-
going to happen.
No one wanted to buy it. Not even Anthem wanted to buy Anthem. Anthem looked at itself in the mirror and cried. That's all
I've
that
met
happened.
people who have enjoyed Anthem, but as a
But
a grindy loot shooter, which Destiny was the whole thing.
The thing
Well,
about
this-
that, and the idea of this whole let's go with live services. Let's yell about live services for a moment. Worst thing to come.
Did
from
we
zero.
actually? Did you actually introduce what this segment's about, Alan?
I did, yeah. Didn't
Okay,
I?
sorry, I missed that.
Just did
Well,
I?
we're just being trendy.
It's
trendy
gonna be
boys.
added in
We're
post.
talking about we're talking about games that define the generation, and that means good and bad because things that define things are not often always good. So while you do have things like Persona 5 bringing JRPGs really back into the main sort of stream gaming setup, you also have things like Anthem, which basically are there to extort money out of people. It's not very nice. So Anthem, came out a while ago, and I don't know if anyone's played it. I have not played it. I played it at a mate's place for about 5 minutes near release. It was maybe like a month and a half after release, and it was fun to fly around. And then I got bored, and then the game was like, "Hey, you're gonna shoot these people." So I went and shot those people, and then the game said, "Hey, you're gonna shoot these people now," and they have a different color on their head, so you better watch out. And then that was the game, and I was like, what's the point behind this? Why is this any better than playing Diablo 2 40 years ago on my, graphics calculator in under a rock. Like it doesn't make any sense. And
I think
but
it's
this is
worse
the
than
trend.
that. Like,
It's
because Diablo 2 had a point.
Diablo 2 did have a point. Anthem doesn't.
Anthem was fun to fly
think-
around.
I think this is kind of, for me, the main overarching trend of this generation is the idea of content games that kind of exist purely to push content onto players, and then the players pay for that content, and they get wrapped up in these kind of worlds that the game itself becomes their entire hobby, because that's good for the publisher, because if they can make the game the entire hobby, then they've locked you in, right? And you just keep playing this one game, keep putting money into it, and that benefits the publisher. But it's not good on any level for anything to do with the video game industry.
Just to like have fun. Like it's not fun.
Well, yeah. It firstly, it kind of taps. It kind of brings the alignment between video games and gambling, actual gambling, very close. And I don't just mean loot boxes and stuff like that, but I actually mean the impulses that these games tap into are pretty much the same impulses that you get when you play on the poker machines or you play blackjack or whatever at a casino. It's that same really small, infinitely replayable loop that is just kind of, it has a thrill and a payoff at the end, and because of that, you want to keep doing it, and it kind of taps into that addictive personality trait that a lot of people end up having. And I think that video games as this generation has been really defined by that. And it wasn't just Anthem. Anthem's a really bad example of it because it was a failure.
Marvel's Avengers came out this year.
Well, that's another really bad example of it because it failed. But there've been a lot of very successful games that have tapped into that too. Fortnite is probably the best example of it.
Can I make my own shameful confession? I re-downloaded League of Legends because over the New Year's period, I was like, I have some time. And then I played for about a week or two. And then one day I was making breakfast and then I burnt it because I queued a game as an idiot. And I was like, why am I doing this to myself? And then I got rid of it again.
Well, League of Legends is another good example of it. These kinds of games are really good examples of this content-driven
it's this
industry.
Battle Pass thing.
Yeah, you can play it forever. You want your money's worth. And then you think, well, I better play every day. And after that, it just becomes a routine. I have to plan around playing a 40-minute game of League every single day for the rest of the year. It's fun if you enjoy it. Like, I'm not judging you guys, but it's a lot.
It is. And it's funny, actually, just as we talk on this podcast, there's one of the trends on Twitter at the moment. I'm still on Twitter because I'm looking for images to send to Alan. But actually, one of the trends on Twitter at the moment is talking about Farmville, which is shutting down. I think today. Yeah, the original Farmville is actually shut. It's shutting down today, and it's funny because Farmville kind of kicked off really a lot of this game design that we see in popular games now. And there was a time we all thought that Farmville was this horribly exploitative kind of experience that didn't really add anything to people's lives and was this kind of valueless time waster. And yet, compared to a lot of the stuff that we've seen come later on down the track through this generation, Farmville seems pretty benign to me.
Farmville, so far, it seems like the one that least wants you to like have your entire world consumed. It seems like a thing you look into for 5 minutes.
Farmville was that kind of endless content game that we're talking about, but it was also, like you said, it was something that was designed to be played at 5 minutes at a time, just between breaks, while you have your coffee in the morning, you just log onto Facebook, farm some strawberries and send a request to your friend to give you some other kind of fruit. But
Matt, why did you have to say it like that?
But that's what it was. But it was a 5-minute thing, right? You only logged in for 5 minutes to play. These games like Fortnite and whatever are kind of asking you to log in for hours at a time now. So that endless content experience has been really expanded out to, like I said, become your entire hobby outside of working and sleeping and eating, and that one game that you spend a fortune on. So I don't think any of that has been good for the video game industry. And
can I say as well,
I've been very frustrated with this industry over this last generation as a result of this.
Yeah, with the wanting the game to go infinite has been really damaging to the industry, I think, because usually you get dev cycles where people might have to work really hard and crunch for a few months at a time, but now there's many companies that are just doing infinite crunches because they're always releasing and they're always patching, and there's just
The
no rest. It's just destroying itself.
the Epic Games dev cycle when Fortnite began to blow up and they had to start pumping out new content like every week. Apparently that was hell and like just the worst thing to work in because yeah, there's no end. You don't have an end. You have a job, of course, but that means that it's coming at the at the behest of your sanity and your actual physical health. So it's all
And
a
it
bit
kind of
like
it completely messes with the creative process as well, because you think about it, the creative process is about having this idea, exploring the idea, finishing it, and then moving on to the next thing. That process, that having that sense of finish, that conclusion is really important to the creative process. What happens when you remove it is, stuff like Fortnite, where now what passes for creativity in that game is
we put Kratos in the game. Oh my god, we said the exact same one.
I was about to say Kratos doing that stupid hair,
doing the
the flossing dance, but that doesn't come across as particularly creative to me. And again,
Wasn't
I
all
like,
the dances stolen anyway in some
Yeah,
degree
a lot
or
of them were
capacity?
stolen.
Yeah.
if you can call them dances, I'd be that's stretching the term dance to me. But
Yeah,
anyway, that's a
movements
different topic.
Yeah,
Yeah, gyrating to no rhythm because there's no music in the background doesn't really count as dancing, in my opinion. But anyway, that's a different topic for another day. Point is, I come to my interest in video games is the art, and I don't get that from any of these games. So there you go.
I
Boo,
will say
boo Fortnite.
on a more positive note, I've actually been really enjoying the more focused, like extremely elegant design sort of games as well. Um, we're seeing a return to like older FPS, like we've seen with Dusk, with a medieval, with Doom Eternal, Doom 2016, which I know you don't like, but I think they're fantastic and very elegantly made.
Yeah,
I
but
like
then you don't
every-
like Fantasy Sextet, so your tastes are a bit
what?
weird. Sextet,
what?
you're a little bit your tastes are a bit weird there, Alan. You like Doom, but not this beautiful anime game that keeps sending screenshots to you.
Yep.
There's less blood, less gore. It's more wholesome for the whole family.
Oh no, I don't know if I'd say wholesome about that one.
No, there are holes in it, but they're not. Yeah, things that are like sort of really refining that. Like I know it's a bit of a meme at this point, but Among Us is actually quite good in terms of just taking Mafia and really honing it into its own thing.
Controversial statement. Among Us is good.
Yeah, I know. It's a good game. This is also my second hot take of the day. I think that Unfortunate Spacemen is a better game, personally, because I like that sort of game much more. Unfortunate Spacemen, for those who don't know, is a game where you play it in first person. It's Mafia in first person with The Thing from John Carpenter's The Thing. And
It does sound
one
cool, but
person
you
is
need
The Thing.
you need that immediate teachability. Like I can give my friend my phone and say, "Here's Among Us," and they can learn how to play it
exactly.
in 30 seconds. Whereas first person, you got to be like, "Here's how you crouch. Here's how you jump. Here's how your source jump. Here's how it's a mess."
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. Like I prefer that personally because I'm obviously a freaking.
You're more of a gamer.
Yeah, don't say that slur in my face, please. But yeah, I really like this sort of like really focused, honed in experiences that we're getting now, and it means that even like I don't think they would do it, but I think my parents could probably play a single round of Among Us and not throw up, which that's pretty impressive. So I like that little trend. That's a nice little trend.
See, that's
I like
the
that
brilliance
ethos.
behind stuff like Farmville, is that Farmville is really what kicked up all of this to begin with and all this exploitation. And the brilliance was that, if you were a greedy CEO, you'd love the whole design behind the game because suddenly, like, people on Facebook, like family, old people, like, that sort of thing, they're playing Farmville. They understand the concepts in like 5 seconds and they're hooked to it. Like, that's like if Among Us had like the same sort of, buy this, and then suddenly you're like a sparkling.
Oh, they
like,
could have made it. They could have made a
And they
real
kind of
like
are.
scumbag game. They haven't done
They're
it.
a hat game. They're entirely funded by hats.
Yeah, it is a little bit
Oh,
of a
so it's a
hack.
Steam game.
It is also free on phones, right?
Yeah, but you can spend money to buy hats for your character. It's literally a hat game.
It's TF2. Everything's TF2.
Yeah,
Every
it's
game is
TF2,
now TF2.
everything's TF2. That's a very alternative monetization model, which is similar to League of Legends as well. The whole game is free, but then you spend money on cosmetics, and then somehow everyone spends a ton of money on cosmetics.
Yeah, that's something that I will never get personally, but that's okay.
You brought it
I
on
think-
yourself, so yeah.
I think to bring it back to what you were saying there, Alan, I think that one of the things that has been really good about this generation is the fact that developers can now explore different ideas in a much better way. So for a really good example, Itch only released in 2013. Like it only launched as a platform service. So it's a this generation thing, and Itch has given all these developers who are one-man bands the opportunity to get their games out there, also to release things in prototype form, get feedback, and so on and so forth. And yeah, one of the great things about this generation, we've always had independent developers, of course, but this generation feels like the first time that they've been kind of
They've been
liberated.
Yeah.
They've been kind of free to genuinely do whatever they want. And there's more platforms that they can release on. I think consoles have become a little bit more hostile towards independence, but I don't think that matters anymore. Where once you really needed that console release to have any hope of having a viable business, you look at stuff like Among Us is a good example of that. It only came to consoles after it was already a huge success on PC and mobile. So
Give me in mind, it failed when it launched. Like it
It
was
did,
a
it did. It took-
2018 game.
it took a long time. So these things are positive signs, I think, for the industry and anybody who wants to be creative. That we like to criticize, that AAA space for being content driven now, but there are there's really interesting stuff that's been done by
Yeah, Matt,
much
you don't-
smaller people.
You don't understand, Matt. The game where there's an angry lady and she wants to kill the other lady, and
I mean,
revenge is bad. It's pretty like deep stuff, dude.
I mean, the video game industry is that open that even I can publish games now, and like that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That wouldn't have
That
happened
was-
previously. God bless Itch. Itch is the best thing that's happened this generation. I'm not even being sarcastic about that. I love Itch.
Well, shall we pause this discussion here then, and then we'll come back and talk about what we hope to see more of in the next generation.
Well, you are the boss man, Alan. So if you'd
I
like to
am-
pause right now, you
Yeah,
can pause
I'm
right now.
gonna pause right now. What's the song? What song are we gonna do?
Fantasy
you talking
Sextet.
about?
No,
Do they
play
have
Nino
No,
Music.
music?
maybe it has good music.
strictly no.
It'll
Kuni
have
music.
like generic VN music #1, which is a fine song.
I cannot explain to you how little I want to go to YouTube and Google.
Fantasy
Sextet
Sextet.
There's like there is nothing I would like to do less.
All right.
Is there
here's a-
music from
here's a-
Anthem?
Here's something completely out of left field,
No.
Alan.
There's no.
What
music
about what about one of those little kind of those tavern songs from Dragon Age Inquisition?
that? Okay, yeah, I am the one.
Yeah, do one of those. That's completely out of left field, but that's actually pretty good music. That is.
It's a real compromise. It's a fantasy tavern, which may or may not have been played by a sextet.
I feel sun through the ashes in the sky. Where's the one who'll guide us into the night?
So, we are now going to be talking a little bit about what we hope to see a little bit more of in this coming generation. I'm going to start off right away. I want to see more small games. I want to see games that aren't like 70 hours long. I want to see a game that just is a contained experience and doesn't try to make me do a whole bunch of nonsense.
And finishes, right? Like it ends. It has an end point. That'd be nice.
That would be personally ideal.
One
For
of
those
the
of you who
things.
don't know, oh, sorry, go first.
I was just going to say, one of the things that really pisses me off, this isn't about the industry, but actually the people that play these video games, is the minute that they enjoy a game, they start saying, oh, where's the sequel? It's like, not every game needs a sequel, you know? Sometimes a game can finish, and that's okay. I don't know why that's
for this. Yeah.
a wildly controversial thing to say, but yeah, well, Hades is a good example. I've already seen people say...
Hades does not need a sequel.
Yeah, do we get a Hades sequel? No, we don't need a Hades sequel. It doesn't need one. So let them move on to another idea. Yeah.
Pyre 2. I just want like a smaller game that will finish itself within a reasonable amount of time and that will not consume my life, because I had such a strange love-hate relationship with a game known as Ni no Kuni 2 recently on my stream. And that game decided to just not end, and it refused to end because of arbitrary design elements. And while the game I felt up to that point was fantastic and I had a great time playing it, the final 15 hours of it were just grinding because I had to grind. And it wasn't even fighting monsters, it was just waiting.
I don't know if you played the first... If you played the first Ni no Kuni, but it pulls exactly the same trick. Only it plays it in an even worse way. Like the first Ni no Kuni, there was a point where you fight a boss on a ship, and I hope 2012 game or whatever. It's
no, I did that. Yeah, it was fine.
But yeah, you fight the boss on that ship, and you defeat the boss, and it feels like that should be the end of the game, because it is a nice ending to the narrative loop. Everything feels like it could wrap up at that point and feel like a very quality kind of contained experience.
And then you go to the Welsh land of fairies.
But then you've got to go for another like 20 hours after that to the proper end boss, and all of that stuff just feels like filler to pad the length of the game out, and I can't stand that stuff. I think that JRPGs in particular,
Bravely Default. Yeah, exactly the same issue. The biggest issue of it. I can't wait to see if they do that again in the new one that's coming out on Switch.
Well, they didn't with Bravely Default 2. That was, Bravely Default Second Layer, or whatever the hell they call the proper second.
Why'd they name it like this? Okay, this is actually what I want to see, is I want to see games that are actually named like video games and not like a technical manual for how to build a submarine.
But yeah, I mean, point being, they did seem to learn the lesson from the first one with the second one. So I'm pretty sure Bravely Default 2, which is the third one,
make short games.
It'll still be a long game, because JRPGs kind of need to be by the thinking of the people that make them. But
you just said the most Square Enix sentence imaginable. Bravely Default 2, which is the third one.
Yeah. But I totally
Three.
agree with you, Alan, and I reckon that especially JRPGs being my favorite genre and whatever, I would like to see them shorter. There's a great game, absolutely wonderful game, beautiful game that I played last year called Haven, and it's an RPG, but it's about a dozen hours long to finish, and it feels like that's enough. It didn't need to be longer than that, and it was actually really nice that it was able to. The developers felt confident enough to let it finish after 12 hours. And I would like to see more RPGs kind of pitch to that space rather than this 50, 60, 70 hour mega, epic. I don't think most games. Yeah, Persona 5. I don't think most games deserve it, to be honest. I think that it takes an awful lot of skill to be able to write a narrative that is of the equivalent of War and Peace, and I don't think most writers are up to that in the video game space. And that's not necessarily a knock on them. That's just a simple reflection that not everyone can be Tolstoy, so they probably shouldn't try to be.
Have you played Hylics?
Does some great stuff.
Have I played which, sorry?
Hylics.
I have not played Hylics.
Hylics is a claymation JRPG, and it is a fever dream. And the first one only lasts like 3 hours, but it's long enough and good enough that like it doesn't feel rushed and it just gets to the point. Like every fight is hard, and that's fine. And the game is like, well, that's the final boss. You're gonna go fight the King of the Moon. His name is Gibby, and you're gonna melt him. It's gonna be great, and it's wonderful. And then the second one actually is too long in my opinion because it's like 9 hours, and it just overstays its welcome. This is the issue: is that like there is a sweet spot, and I just want a game that is, actually at the point where the content doesn't feel like I'm just repeating the same motions over and over again. Because while that's good sometimes, I like grinding sometimes. I think grinding in Final Fantasy X, for example, is really rewarding because you have so much agency in where you take your characters. But I just don't have any interest in, for example, doing 100% of Cyberpunk. Like, there's zero way that I will ever do that. And that's just a lot of stuff that, they probably could have spent time on fixing the game instead of making stuff that I'm never going to see anyway. Like, it's, I just think it's a bit of a waste sometimes because realistically, the data that they get from people who've actually finished these games, I think only, 40% of people finish Final Fantasy VII Remake, which, did the game need to be that long? It's like 30 hours. Even then, that's still quite a long time. Even with God of War.
It's a third of the game.
Yeah, then it's a third of the game, exactly. Like, I don't know. It just seems like an issue is that there's this feature creep thing. Like, oh, we need to make sure that this game lasts for exactly 78 hours, and then there's 39 hours worth of side content that is all fully voice acted. And it's like, do you really need that? Why don't we just make it like 15 hours at most and not waste my time? Even Hyrule Warriors, which I know this might annoy people who have played a lot of Dynasty Warriors games, but there's too much in that game. It needs to cut it out and stop wasting my time. And
I'm starting to feel like it's a grind. Like it's like the first one I've actually enjoyed in that Warriors series methodology, but it's starting to get to the point where I'm like, okay, is this game getting to the end game soon? Like, it just feels like a grind. Like, only one new level pops up at a time now. And
yeah,
it just feels like it just feels like a grind to get my characters leveled and up, or it's like perfectly easy, and then all of a sudden it's like, let's throw in some thunder cannons, and you're like, oh shit, and there's like 20 billion of them, and you're like, well, I don't have enough skill to like battle like 20 of them at a time. Like, that's where I'm up to in the game, and it's driving me insane.
Yeah.
Can I just roll back to Trent calling the Warriors games a methodology? I think that is the perfect word for it. That's so wonderful because we don't need to call them genres. We don't need to call them Souls-likes. We can just say design methodology, Dark Souls methodology, Warriors methodology. It's awesome.
FPS
We invented a word.
It's Doom methodology.
Exactly right. Like Doom is an FPS, but the methodology is you move fast and you shoot things and you dodge things.
Skate fast and you eat ass.
And
Speaking
run.
of that, I want more Tony Hawk. I want more Tony Hawk games. That's my next thing.
Oh, you should play Skatebird.
I played a little bit of Skatebird when it was like a free demo, like young songs ago. Like, it was a tech demo. And I was considering playing Skatebird, but it doesn't have Scar in it, and I want Scar to return, so I'm only gonna buy games with Scar in it from now on. That's how
Alan's thing he's looking forward to is just more Scar.
Yeah, it's on like a big like whiteboard behind me. I'm just like shouting, "More Scar!"
Going back to Tony Hawk, a true Tony Hawk game would be like from like a third-party developer, which is no one's ever heard of. They would They would technically have the everything to do about Tony Hawk, like be able to make the character designs and all that, make him look like Tony Hawk, but not the name. And then it'll be like, hey, this game's like Tony Hawk. Are you related to Tony Hawk? Sort of meme. That would be a true Tony Hawk game.
Trent, that game is called Session, and I'm not
Yeah.
sure if it's out yet.
It's also called Skate.
It's also called Skate. No, Skate is different. Skate is like fondled or joystick in a specific way. I'm sorry,
Oh, so
Skate
it's
fans.
sex tape. So it's a
No,
sex tape.
no, it's just the tricks you need to pull off are really, really precise, and it's hard. It's like, you know how when you skateboard in real life, you fall off a flight of stairs 20 times before you get it right?
But see,
It simulates
I
that.
saw that happen to a friend of mine, and his like knee came out of his leg, and I was like, maybe this isn't for me. So
Yeah, but Skate has all the failure in it, whereas Tony Hawk is just the success. Like, you can do cool tricks with one button in Tony Hawk. In Skate, you will fall over all the time.
yeah, I respect that. But yeah, I want more extreme sports games. I want to bring back Wave Race. Bring it back.
Oh, that would be sick. Yes.
Bring back SSX. Bring back all those like extreme punk games because I miss it. And
With all the janky 90s soundtracks, oh, I want that.
Oh, dude, I want to hear It's Tricky behind every single video game from now on. It is a travesty that that game has not been released, and it's entirely because of It's Tricky. Like,
We Work has ruined that song for me. I can't listen to that song anymore.
oh no. But can you play SSX Tricky though? It is tricky.
It is tricky.
Yeah. No, I want those games. I want those games back. I also think I want less online games. I don't care. I play like 3 online games at this point. One of them's Counter-Strike because I hate myself. The other 2 are like Apex because I hate myself. And it's like sometimes... Oh, I don't even play any other games at this point.
I can't believe that I thought that we are moving to an era where online games have finally fixed their online connectivity issues.
No.
And no, we're not there yet. We're still not there yet. Shut it down.
I mean,
Work on it. Get back to it.
Harvard, we're in a situation where Nintendo is making us pay, $30 a month for something that does not work.
Oh yeah, but Nintendo's Nintendo. We all thought this would happen.
Yeah, but Nintendo's making you pay for the NES games. Like, you're just getting
Yeah,
free
the
online.
games that
If you
have
think of it
literally-
like that,
Yeah, I can't wait to play like 40 hours of like, I don't know, Panel de Pon. Like, hell yeah, dude. I can't wait to play Panel de Pon for all of my time to justify spending $30 on Nintendo.
You say that as a
Online.
joke, but no, I would actually do that. Panel Upon is awesome. But also, all the SNES games are awesome.
It's not Mean Bean Machine, so I don't respect it.
I think it needs Game Boy games at this point. It's like feels stagnant. Like, I'm not a lot of people into NES or SNES games. Like, especially people which were born after games got good. So, I just feel like it needs some Game Boy games and maybe some Game Boy Color games. We definitely need some remakes, more in that Zelda style. We need Oracle of Ages done. Like, more people need to appreciate the Oracle of Ages series.
Ooh, do you know what I want to see this generation, which I think Matt will really get behind, is proper archivalism, whatever. Games that came out a long time ago should be more available. I would
wanna
like
play
to see
Chase
companies campaign and fight for games that have been lost to be available on modern systems, it seemed like an ethos of the PS3 era, and it kind of got lost in the PS4 era. I would like
Yeah,
to see that come back.
The PS3 launched
only
with full
because
backwards compatibility.
it was only of interest to the companies as long as they could make money from it. That's the
Yeah, that was the thing.
basic reality of it, unfortunately. I would like to see the companies be willing to step back and just not go and sue people that go and put their games on, Wayback Machine or Internet Archive or whatever. Sorry, Internet Archive, not Wayback Machine. Because, the problem is a lot of companies still maintain their copyright over these things, even though they have no intention of releasing them. And as a result, we end up with these games that are going to be potentially lost. A good example would be Farmville. It's going to go away, and whether you like Farmville or not, it should probably be preserved since it had a pretty big impact on the industry.
It
But
was
unfortunately,
2008.
it's not going to be preserved, because why would they? They're not going to make money from it. So that's the unfortunate problem with archiving. I would like to see the industry do a better job of it, come to the realization that the movie industry did too late, that these things actually have value and should be kept and preserved. But unfortunately, I think that's not going to happen. As much as I'd like it to.
Speaking of
thing
Farmville
I'd
in
like-
2021 too, as that Flash is now gone, and so
Yeah,
all
Flash
the
is
Flash games that we grew up with are now gone.
Yeah, that's another good example of that. All the Flash games are gone.
Super Smash
and-
Flash. Oh,
They shouldn't be, and not many of them were great, but they should be kept and preserved, because you don't just preserve the things that are good; you preserve everything that's important, or has had some kind of impact on the industry.
I
The
mean,
thing,
Sonic beating up Mario.
the thing I'd like to see,
2009.
the thing I'd like to see, I guess, is I'd like to see platforms. I guess I'm thinking of itch when I say this is the main one, but I'd like to see more platforms become available in some way on console as well. I'd love to see a company like Nintendo do a partnership with itch, that developers working for itch can now publish their stuff, and it will be available on the Switch as well via an itch platform, app or whatever on the console. Because again, I'd like to see. I don't know. I'd like to see some of these walled gardens that are consoles start to open up a bit more, because at the moment it seems to be going the other way. Sony and Microsoft in particular are getting very hardcore protective about what's been allowed on their consoles, and I would like to see some kind of alternative to that emerge, whether that's Nintendo partnering with itch or whether that's just another console coming that will play
That was
itch
the
games.
Yeah, Matt, you're describing the Ouya.
No, not the Ouya. I'm talking about one that would actually be a good game, a console.
one that doesn't spit spiders into your face when you open it. Yeah.
No, because one of the things that I've really enjoyed this year, or last year, what it kind of kept me sane through lockdowns and whatever, was buying all those little emulation consoles from China. I've got like a pile of them now, and putting my ROMs on them and being able to play them on the go. And I actually got, for example, on itch, there's a bunch of new Game Boy games that have been released that developers have gone and limited themselves to what the Game Boy was capable of and have produced Game Boy ROMs as a result. You buy them off itch, you download them, you put them on one of these emulation consoles, and you've got a new Game Boy game to play. I'd like to see more of that happen this generation, and perhaps some kind of formal console, not just a Chinese emulation thing, come out that recognizes that. I think Analog was a good example of what I'd like to see more of, actually. So Analog is a Swedish console manufacturer, and they've gone and created a new Game Boy, which will play Game Boy cartridges, and they've partnered with Game Boy Maker to encourage developers to create new Game Boy games and stuff. And that would have been a really neat console. Unfortunately, it sold out in like 10 minutes when they put it available. But
Have you still not gotten yours, Matt?
I haven't even had a chance to pre-order one.
Wasn't it a really odd time as well? Like, it was an American...
Well, for Australians.
Yeah,
Chris,
obviously, if it was America, it would be
they
perfect.
They put pre-orders live at about 1 a.m. in Australian time, and by 1:07 they'd sold out of their pre-orders. So it was a nightmare. But I'd like to see more of that kind of thing, more creativity with consoles, these micro consoles, these little kind of concept designs, and yeah, I'd like to see the hardware kind of reflect some of the creative stuff that's happening with the software side of things.
What about that console with the hinge thing, like the Crank, that console, which is coming out?
Oh, wasn't that a meme one? That was a
No,
meme
that
one.
was no, that's a real console that's coming out.
Oh god, that was real.
Yeah, that was real. It looked fun. It looked like a delight to play with. I would have liked that. I didn't get a chance to get that one either. But
I don't think
The
it's
issue is that if it
purchasable
ever
yet.
came out, if it ever came out to me, I would 100% be so distracted by the Crank that I would never play any games. I would just shout about how it's being cranked. And
He would just be singing Crank That in the background forever.
I would just be singing Crank That, Soldier Boy.
that-
He made consoles this year too. Remember that?
that would be that console. I can't remember what it's called, but it would be a delight to play with. I think it'd be creative,
It's
different.
called
quirky.
the Playdate. It's a beautiful
Playdate.
yellow.
There you go. Playdate. That's it.
Yes.
That kind of thing I'd like to see more of this year. I think that would be my number one wish. Just more
It's
creative little
$149 USD.
experimental things that just because this industry is too top-ended on the AAA stuff, and it's just getting more and more generic, and it's exhausting to deal with. So having stuff like the Playdate will largely be what keeps me interested in this industry, I think.
Yeah, fair enough. I am actually I'm gonna steer it a little bit on a similar direction, but take a left turn at some point, and say I want to see more PS1 styled games. I want to see more low poly games because I think they are some of the most...
Dude, you got to hit up
It'll
Itch.
happen.
There's like millions of them.
No, I know, because I played like a whole bunch of them when that Black Lives Matter bundle happened. Because I played a whole bunch of PS1 styled horror games, and
Yeah, they did a whole
they kicked
game.
ass.
They did an entire game jam around that.
Yeah, the
this year.
horror game jam. It was amazing. There was a lot of
Yeah.
really good stuff in there.
It was awesome.
So yeah, I want to see more of that because Lost in Vivo is still the one that scares me the most out of any other game. It's still the game that I cannot play because I get worried.
You're
Which
about
is-
to hit that era, Alan, because the people who grew up with the PS1 games are now becoming game developers. So we're gonna leave Metroidvania territory, which is like the SNES era, and we're gonna enter PS1 era.
Hell yeah, dude! I can't wait for the PS2 era where everything just becomes Jack and Daxter. It's gonna be great.
I
I'm
feel
all
like we
for it.
just ignore that era. It was just a horrible era. Like, We don't need to revisit it. We just need to make good games.
How do you not like good game? Jack and Daxter is a good game. No, I don't accept that. That was my first like console game, and I loved that. It was great.
No.
Anyway,
And it's
Um,
like playing ukulele, and like ukulele is like riding on nostalgia and other things from the past to sell it, and it's a horrible game because it's taking all the things which are people like, oh yeah, this is so cool. I remember when this was like back then, it was so fun, and then it's like, well, actually, this is really bad game design. Please don't do this. Like, no, we need to move past that.
no.
Yeah, there's two
I wouldn't.
ethoses to it. There's like, let's make what people who like these games would like, and there's let's make the game that they tried to make 20 years ago, but now we know how to make it.
I'm still waiting for someone to do a homage to Chameleon Twist.
I don't even know if that game exists.
Yeah,
See?
Chameleon Twist is the game that's like really chibi in like Japan, but it's like horrifying in the US, right?
No. Well, yes.
No,
But
like there's a style difference, and one of the like the chameleons in the Japanese version of Chameleon Twist 2 are like fine and they look really cute, and then the ones in the UK and the US are just like demons from hell because it's like the Kirby effect where every Japanese game box of Kirby is adorable, and then every like Western one shows him with like a gun.
I love the Kirby effect because the
No,
artists in
Chameleon-
the game box sometimes just draw angry eyebrows onto him and it's like,
Yeah.
we did it.
Chameleon
It's
Twist
localized.
Chameleon Twist is this delightful little, completely forgotten 3D platformer from Sunsoft. And yeah, you play as a chameleon, is the little mascot character, and he has a really long licky tongue, and he uses that to get through all the puzzles and stuff, and fight enemies and cool. It's really neat. It's very cute. There were 2 of them that were released on the N64, and it disappoints me that nobody's inspired by them because they're great.
I mean, ukulele kind of because you have a tongue in that game, kind of.
No.
No, okay.
No.
I was wrong. I'm sorry.
Bad, Alan. Bringing up ukulele. Naughty.
Ukulele in the Impossible Machine is really good. That's a good game.
Banjo-Kazooie sucks.
I agree. I think it's boring. I get very snoozy at it. I think the music's fantastic. I think the art design is fantastic. I think the gameplay makes me want to die. Anyway, we're gonna go to some music right now from Banjo-Kazooie. And we'll come back. And welcome back. So again, it's January, which means that the year has ended. Thank God. Oh, Nuclear 2020 is over. It's relatable corporate humor. So we have obviously a year's worth of games we need to talk about, and we're all going to go through and give our rough sort of top 3 about what we liked the most that came out last year. I'm going to try and start off by just doing one game, and I am going to actually say that I really liked Visage. For those of you who don't know what Visage is, it's a Kickstarter game that I kickstarted back in 2016, I believe, just after PT got taken off the PlayStation Store. And it is a game that is pretty much PT. It is the same sort of strange, puzzly sort of thing. It's a great time. It's pretty scary in all honesty. Like it has gotten me more than a few times, which is impressive because I don't really react unless like it's actually proper like intense.
Alan, of
And-
course you get scared by rats in dusk, okay? You can't say that.
No, the rats in dusk are startling. This is more like I'm uncomfortable and want to like not be playing the game. The rats in dusk are evil. I don't like the rats in dusk. They're spooky. You should all play Dusk though. Dusk is not gonna be on this list because it's not that good, but it's very good anyway. Yeah, I think that it's very rare to have a game that is so oppressive in its atmosphere by just making a house spooky, and they managed to do it really, really well. So I'm actually doing my first one to, oh god, what's it called?
Visage or Visage?
Visage. Visage. For some reason, I was thinking of Ice Age.
Ice Age.
Because my friends and I, for some reason, decided that it was called Vice Age, starring Ray Romano. And that's now all it's permeated my brain. I didn't want to say Ice Age, but now you all know how my brain works. So yeah, I'm gonna now pass the torch over to Matt. Matt, you have time to think. Wait, who wants to say? We didn't plan this very well.
Yeah, I mean, I guess for me, at least the three games that I felt were probably the most memorable, at least the ones that I can kind of immediately spring to mind that I played this year that I thought were pretty impactful and interesting. Firstly, Deadly Premonition 2. So that game certainly left an impression. I know a lot of people didn't think much of it, but I thought it was, well, it's a lot of what I really like in video games, to be honest. It was challenging, not in terms of a gameplay sense, but in terms of its themes and stuff, and engaging, and it was different, and it was creative, and it was subversive, and it wasn't necessarily a good game in the traditional sense, but it was certainly one that I really found interesting to play. So that was one. Another one, for similar reasons, actually, to be honest. Pathologic 2 came out on the PlayStation 4 this year.
Yeah.
And I never played it on PC because I don't play many games on PC. So for me, it was a new game in 2020, and it was pretty funny. It came out during a pandemic. But
no, it was just before the pandemic. That's the worst part. Like,
was it? When did I do it? No, it came out just
Like
as the
January,
pandemic was
yeah.
really hitting. Yeah, it came out in March on the
Oh,
PS4.
God. Much. Ugh.
So the pandemic was just starting to scare people, and it was an interesting game to come out at that point in time. But yeah, I thought that's a masterpiece of a game in terms of video games as art. It's not very easy to play at all. In fact, it's not really enjoyable to play on any level. But it's certainly mentally challenging. It's quite deep. It's very theatrical. It's very abstract. It's very interpretive. So all the things that I like from very
It's the most theater-esque game that I've ever seen in my life. That has
well,
that,
it and Kentucky Route Zero are probably the two that I would say are the most theatre-like games that I've played. And funnily enough, they both came out on console close to one another. So I was having a good time with the theatre as video game thing earlier in the year. So yeah, that was definitely a game that was very much me as video games as art kind of person. And then thirdly, there's a game called Katana Kami, which came out right at the start of the year. And it just keeps coming back to me because I think it was because at the same time there was an exhibition going on at the New South Wales Gallery around Japanese art and yokai, kind of the night parade of 100 demons stuff. And that was the last art gallery exhibition I went to. And then I played this game at the same time, which was inspired very much by that, the Hyakki night parade story. So yeah, it kind of stuck in my mind for that. And it's also a really good little roguelike. Probably the best way I can describe it is a Japanese take on Diablo, which is pretty neat. If you haven't heard of it before, check it out. It's a Spike Chunsoft game. You can get it on Switch and PS4. And yeah, Katana Kami.
There we go. All right, Harvard. Do you want to take on your three?
Look, my mind is a blur, but I'm gonna say 3 games. Might not be my top 3, just 3 games that I remember liking last year. First one is, this one's really getting to me, but it has to be Nexomon Extinction. I've played so
That's
much
the
of
one
that
that's
game.
like the bad Pokemon, right?
No, it's not.
okay,
It should have been the
it's-
bad Pokemon, but it's a good Pokemon.
The way I can describe its appeal is Pokemon the Abridged series. Because the story is written in a way that breathes life into monster collecting. Like it actually makes a world that you care about, but also it's just really funny. They point out all the inconsistencies within mainstream Pokemon games, but they do it in a way that's really affectionate, and they have everything that you would want to play a Pokemon game for, and I just like that. It gave me more of that than Pokemon Shield did, which good on them, I guess.
That's good.
Second one is going to be Dicey Dungeons. I don't know if this was 2020 actually, but it came out on Switch
It came
towards
out
the
on
end of
console.
last year. Yeah, and it's just really fun design. It
It's a Terry
I have
Cavanagh
a-
game, isn't it?
It is a Terry Kavanagh game. I don't want to say this, but I have a very addictive personality, so I like it when I roll dice and good things happen. And this is a game about rolling dice and having good things happen, which is awesome.
Oh, yeah.
And last one, because Matt didn't talk about it, Kentucky Route Zero has been a game that I've been waiting for since 2013. They were going to release a new episode every 6 months, and they finished in 2020. But it is a wonderful game. It is a game which, if you think America right now is extremely cooked, it's a game which explores the inconsistencies and the paradoxes behind America as to how it got so cooked. But it's also just a very beautiful game about how life can be really difficult and really challenging, and how all those existential questions are just at the back of all of our minds. But it reconciles that with this really warm and really sentimental story about trying to find what is the goal of all of our lives. It's a nice time.
It's also a really good riff on the American road trip story.
Yeah, it's a riff on so
as
many
a
great stories.
as a very American style of storytelling, as a very American, one of the great cultural contributions to the arts that America has given us is that road trip story, and Kentucky Route Zero is a really good riff on that. So, as a genre thing, I think it was as a narrative genre as opposed to video game genre. As a narrative genre, I think it was quite interesting for that reason too.
Yeah, and it's also this is going to be a really crack comparison. So Matt, you might appreciate this. It's also Dante's Inferno because you're
Yeah, it
descending
absolutely
layers
is.
and layers and layers.
Well, that's the underlying, I guess, theme of the American road trip story is that it is all very Dante's Inferno. It's kind of guided to her through a whole range of moral and philosophical positions that occurs as you go on this journey through the heartland of the American states. So I think it's quite an interesting one. I think that Kentucky Route Zero is one of those games that should probably be studied at school.
Yeah, absolutely. It's
as a
definitely
way of
a arts game. It's not a.
it is.
Not a
It's an
platform
arts game. Yeah.
So
I
there's
love
not going to
that
be
it
a battle
exists,
pass for Kentucky Route Zero? It's no battle
There
pass?
There will not be a battle pass for Kentucky Route Zero.
Dang, I wanted to get the floss emote.
It was actually a pretty close thing to a battle pass because they released a lot of in between games and side games to apologize for the fact that every episode took 3 years to make. And so I did buy the complete edition in 2013, which meant that I kept getting drip fed little side titles, which I appreciated, but it was literally just a battle pass.
But
Honestly,
instead of flossing,
like-
you got gang.
I wish the game came out as one big chunk or a lot closer together, because I played the first one when it first came out. I was really into it. I'm like, this is fun. And then it's like, oh, the second one's like, I don't even know when the second one came out. I don't even know when the third one came out. I don't even know when the fourth one came out. I don't even know it's finished. That's where I'm up to with the game. Like, I just lost interest in the game because it was just like, well, here's the starting point. Now the ending point's like ages away, like almost a decade later. It's like, here's your game. Like,
Yeah, if it was
Yeah.
like Life is Strange, it would have had a really different reception.
There you go. And let's round this up. Trent, what are your three that you would say?
what am I free? Okay, well, the first one has to be Animal Crossing. I don't care. I bring it up every single podcast, but like, this year really was a shit year for games. I know it's like 2021 now, but 2020 was a shit year for games. Like, we have to admit that. Like, it started off okay. There was a bad middle bit, then there was like a sort of like just like near the end, all the games we wanted, which should have been good were just disasters for
They
one
just didn't
reason or
work.
another. Yeah, like
Well, I mean,
game
there
was
was only
ages.
there was only one. I mean, Cyberpunk was a disaster, but Assassin's Creed turned out better
Avengers.
than I think most people thought it would. That was actually a genuinely good return to form for Assassin's Creed after the last couple. So I thought Valhalla was excellent.
it still
Excellent.
has Assassin's Creed has the Red Dead Redemption issue. It has a long snow period at the start, and then by the end of that, you've lost interest. At least that was my experience with the game. It really was a game which you had to sit down, you had to play through, and then once you're like, at 20 hours in, you're probably enjoying it. So
It's
that's
the
why,
Kingdom Hearts 2 problem where you're in Traverse Town for too long.
yeah,
so-
like.
It's so specific.
It needed
I'm
more
sorry.
quick beats at the start, and the introduction could have been a lot quicker and more fun as just like a quick time events rather than that weird walking through like that village. Like it should have been quick beats and then into the gameplay. It was a horrible experience at the start. But anyway, so
What are you
Animal
talking about?
Crossing.
At the start of Assassin's Creed Valhalla, you get to hang out with Harold.
Harold, are you saying that was all worth it because of Harold?
Well, I
Harold
mean,
is pretty cool.
if
You
you
know
think
the-
of Assassin's Creed as a history game, then the fact you get to hang out with the first king of Norway was pretty cool. I didn't know much about him actually until I played
The guy
Assassin's
who
Creed
ruined
Valhalla.
every single Civ match I've ever had in my life because he yelled at you if you don't get votes.
I didn't actually know that much about Harold until I played Assassin's Creed Valhalla, but his name popped up and I started to research, found him interesting, and just like any other good Assassin's Creed game, I got really into the history side of things thanks to some name drop that game just threw at me. So there you go. I thought it was a pretty good intro. Hanging out with Harold. He was a pretty cool dude. Made it worth it.
Hanging with Harold
Totes.
sounds like a 90s era sitcom.
Harold.
Anyway, so we've got
Anyway,
Harold.
got Animal Crossing.
Animal Crossing. All right, so my
No,
next
Harold in
game.
Animal Crossing.
No, is there a Harold? I don't know. But so my next game would be Don't Not Tell Me Why. I really enjoyed that a lot more than Twin Mirror. Twin Mirror just seemed really, I don't know, like it had some interesting ideas and some interesting beats, but ultimately it just seemed like it didn't really have that Don't Not vibe. I feel like Tell Me Why had that really strong, we're gonna make you cry, we're gonna make you like feel shitty, like, but it's gonna be all good sort of like game, like that the other Don't Nods games have. Like Life is Strange has that suddenly it's like, it builds up and then it's like, the game ends on like a huge depressing cliffhanger. Like Tell Me Why is great for that. But it has really strong story beats, and I feel like a lot of people have probably missed out on Tell Me Why because it's an Xbox game and also on PC, but a lot of people don't play on PC. But yeah, I feel like everyone's like, oh, well, it's not on PlayStation, so I don't want to play it. But really, I think Tell Me Why is probably Don't Nod's strongest title. I feel like a lot of people should play it, and not just for the transgender stuff. Like it really has a lot of strong beats in a lot of the stuff they do with their parents and other emotional beats around that. It really does some interesting stuff as well with the children, that when they were children, like they had like this whole weird storytelling thing with like trolls and stuff. Like it has some fun cool stuff with that. So yeah, everyone should play Tell Me Why.
I would
I'm gonna
play.
say
I
right
would
now,
play it if it wasn't on Xbox. I would definitely play it if it was.
It's on
can't give
PC.
it
Play it on
names.
PC.
I keep hearing the name and I think of Ain't Nothing But a Heartache.
See,
And
with
it's-
me, I think of Tell Me Why.
Hey.
Lies, the Fleetwood Mac song.
Mistake.
No, the Fleetwood Mac song. Tell Me Lies.
No,
I feel like we're
Backstreet
different
Boys.
generations.
That's who I think we are.
But anyway,
your
so
third.
So that will be my second game, and then my third game is, well, I don't know. I feel like I probably forgot a lot of the games I enjoyed throughout the year, and I feel like I could say Hyrule Warriors, but I don't want to say Hyrule Warriors. So I'll just say the latest game I played, which was the Ungami Generation, that photography game. That was really fun, and taking some cool photography, and plus playing it as two, like the original and the DLC all as one, sort of made it feel like more of a complete experience. So I was, there was some really cool stuff they did, with like the level design, which works well for photography, and it has some great music, and it has like a giant fish, which is like Dolphin, which is like a DJ, and she's a bitch. It's so great. The DLC is definitely better than the main game.
Speaking of, not that I played that one, but I totally would have mentioned Paradise Killer if I had have played it in the last year, but I've only just started it like 2 or 3 days ago, and it's excellent. Like, if you haven't played Paradise Killer, you got to play Paradise Killer.
All right. Well,
it's brilliant.
Yeah.
Yes,
is there any music from that game?
Sorry?
Is there any music from that game?
Oh,
there's so much music from that game. You have to play music from that game.
Okay,
It's
well,
so
we're finishing with music from Paradise Killer. There's so much good music from that game.
Yeah,
You'd love the soundtrack, Alan.
You'd love it. Yeah,
seriously,
it is what Cyberpunk should be.
This is not a game that just me like that Alan would not like. It's not one of those. This is a game you would like, Alan. You would really like Paradise Killer.
All right, I'll have a look for it. This is the thing, is that when it's not shit posting, I'll actually listen to your recommendations because you don't have bad opinions.
Yeah, this one, not me shit posting. Everybody should play Paradise Killer. Again, I didn't get the chance to play it last year. Otherwise, I would have mentioned it. But yeah, it's the real deal.
Fantastic.
See, my problem is I couldn't get into it. I need to get off the second island.
There we go. All right, well, we're going to wrap it up right there. It seems like a good spot to finish
It
up.
does.
We will be back next month as usual as well. Make sure to follow us all on social medias. Make sure you are checking it digitallydownloaded.net on a regular basis. Follow Matt on Twitter. He's the one who posts all the site updates and also shit posts me directly. So you can come laugh at that. As for the rest of this month, have a good start to 2021. I hope it's better for you than 2020. And we will see you in the next one.